First up, the San Francisco 49ers. Man, we are in week 18, entering week 18, going against the Rams in week 18. They've already clinched the 1 seed, and the Niners look good right now, right? They obviously had that pretty disappointing loss to Baltimore on Christmas night, but other than that, the Niners have been pretty good. The Baltimore game was a little scary for sure, but the Niners have proved to be one of the best teams in the NFL. So the question that I'm asking myself and everybody listening, how great are the 49ers Super Bowl chances? Okay, and I'll tell you right now how great I think the 49ers Super Bowl chances are. This is how I'm viewing the 49ers, okay? I have been a Niner fan my whole life. I'm a Bay Area guy, born and raised. So I've been rooting for the Niners ever since I was born. And what I've learned is that the Niners tend to disappoint over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, okay? So I've learned at this point in my life not to get my hopes up as high as some people. So this is how I feel about the Niners. I believe they have the best constructed roster in football. I believe the 49ers have the best roster in the NFL. Do I think they're the best team in the league? No, I don't. I think that title belongs to the Baltimore Ravens, and they exposed us on Christmas. I think the Niners have the best roster in the league, though. I don't think there's a better roster than the 49ers right now. I mean, this team is phenomenal. This is a shout out to John Lynch, right? He has absolutely killed it with putting together this team. And we have failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed over and over again. And we have yet to win a Super Bowl. We've reached one with John Lynch and we've reached 2 NFC Championship games. No Super Bowl title. So I think the Niners have the best roster in the NFL. And I think that if they're going to win a Super Bowl, this is the year. This is the best year for the 49ers to do it. They are by far the most talented they've ever been in this whole era of John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, this whole new era of 49ers. This is the best they've ever been. This is the year to do it. Everything's right here. We're pretty darn healthy, which has kind of been a problem for the Niners in recent years, where they just haven't been fully healthy at the right times, especially last season. Obviously didn't have a quarterback in the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia. But the Niners are relatively healthy. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, I think he hurt his calf against Washington. But, we have 2 weeks. He's going to rest this week against the Rams. And we obviously have the bye week, so he's going to be okay. But the Niners are a healthy team. The only really notable injury right now is like Talanoa Hufanga, who tore his ACL earlier in the season. But the Niners are healthy. This is the best situation for them to do it. Big part of that is Brock Purdy. The 49ers finally have a quarterback. And they haven't had a quarterback for this whole era. They haven't had one. They had Jimmy G. They shuffled through Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard, who that was never going to work. Jimmy G was obviously horrendous. And then, the whole Trey Lance situation they drafted, they didn't really give him a shot. Now we have Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy is way better than Jimmy G. I'm way more confident in Brock Purdy than I am in Jimmy G. So that's why I'm feeling a little more confident than I have in previous years, is because we actually have a quarterback. Now, I'm not getting my hopes up all the way. I definitely won't be doing that because I made that mistake before. You know who the 49ers still have is Kyle Shanahan. Okay? And that's a big reason why I won't be getting my hopes up anymore, is because of Kyle Shanahan. Why, Zach? He's the offensive genius. Listen, I have not complained a lot about Kyle Shanahan this season. I've kept very quiet about him. I've kept the criticism low because I really haven't had much to criticize. He's been kind of in his bag this season so far. And the 3-game skid to the Browns, the Vikings, and the Bengals was not great. He had some questionable moments. But overall, Kyle Shanahan has been very solid this year, and he's been producing great, so I haven't had much to complain about, which is what I want, right? Fast forward to the Baltimore game, that was probably his worst coached game of the season. I think the whole game plan was just wrong from the start. I think they should have really tried to work McCaffrey in that game and establish the run early on in that game. Because McCaffrey was proving to be effective against a pretty tough Baltimore defense, but McCaffrey was still producing. But they didn't really lean on him like I was hoping they would. Brock Purdy looked nervous. Purdy had a bad game. Definitely his worst game of the season. But McCaffrey, that was my big thing coming into the game, was you got to establish the run with Christian McCaffrey, and they didn't really do that. And I think that contributed to the loss. And I think that the Baltimore Ravens just absolutely looked better than us in pretty much every way. Every single way a football team can look better than an opposing football team, I think that the Ravens look better. I do. And I mean, they did. I mean, it's not like this is opinion. This is just fact. That happened. That's exactly what happened. So I think that was Kyle Shanahan's worst game. However, I think it's good for teams to be able to get punched in the mouth like that, right? We got socked in the mouth pretty hard right there by Baltimore. And I believe Baltimore's the best team in football. I think they're going to give us a run. I don't know if we're really going to be able to beat them in the Super Bowl. But I'm hoping what we saw that game is that we'll be able to learn, right? The 49ers will be able to learn from the mistakes that we made against the Ravens and things that they can work on and learn from, right? So, okay. So, Kyle Shanahan. Why did I bring up Kyle Shanahan in the first place? Is because you're never immune to a Kyle Shanahan blunder, okay? That is like a very big possibility at any time. So that's why I'm not really getting my hopes up super again, right? Because like I said, I do believe that we are in the best situation we've ever been in. I do think that the Niners have the best roster. We finally have a quarterback, which is really what makes it different, which is a huge difference for the 49ers. That they have a quarterback now. They haven't had that ever in this whole era. They have one now. So it's different, yeah. But Kyle Shanahan's still there. Kyle Shanahan blunders still exist in Rome, right? So, we will see how Kyle Shanahan is going to work through these playoffs. But I just am a little nervous for another Kyle Shanahan blunder because we've seen it every time we've made the playoffs in his tenure here. So, Kyle Shanahan blunder could be on its way. And I'm hoping it's not because, again, I don't think Kyle Shanahan, I don't think he's like this terrible coach. I just think he tends to choke in the big moments, and he clearly hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. And again, that doesn't mean every coach who doesn't win a Super Bowl, that's not saying it's like, oh, you're terrible, you didn't win a Super Bowl. One team wins a Super Bowl every season. Okay, it doesn't mean you're a bad, terrible coach if you haven't won a Super Bowl. But my problem lies with the fact that the 49ers have had the best roster in the NFL for so long. Kyle Shanahan really was, that was Jimmy G. Like, he was his guy. Jimmy G was his guy. And Kyle Shanahan, like, is the one who has blown it. He's the one. Right? Like, it's different. If the 49ers players were the ones who were, like, very obviously blowing these playoff games, why would I come at Shanahan? It's not his fault. But the problem is that it's been his fault. Not 100% his fault, but he's played a part. That's the problem. That's the issue I have. Right. So again, I think Kyle Shanahan's good. I think he's creating a really good offense right now. I mean, I think Brock Purdy is the best quarterback for Kyle Shanahan to really execute his offense as great as he wants it to be. And I think that's happening. I think we're watching that happen. But my problem is just that, Kyle Shanahan's been the problem in the past. So I don't know. Kyle Shanahan likes to think too much, right? He gets a little, he's like a chess player who takes like an hour to make a move because he's just like thinking of so if I do that, he's gonna do that, then I'm gonna have to do that, then he's gonna have to do that. It's like, bro, you're thinking way too hard. Not saying you shouldn't be focusing and thinking hard about the games, because you should be, but he's like overthinking himself. He's trying to outsmart the other person when really he's just outsmarting himself. And that's happened so many times. So that's the problem. That's the one thing that I'm concerned about is this Kyle Shanahan blunder That could happen, right? And I think that the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in football right now. They have the MVP of the league, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Um, but yeah, and so I don't think the Niners are the best team coming into the playoffs. No, they might be the best NFC team. They manhandled Dallas. They manhandled Philly, which are the only two teams that could potentially give us a run. But Philly's kind of proved to be fraudulent. The Niners kind of own Dallas right now, so I'm not too worried. To be honest, I'd be really shocked if the Niners don't make the Super Bowl. I really would be because they have a very clear path. Like I said, Philly, they're kind of fraudulent. They've been losing games recently and they have not looked good. The Cowboys are good. I would normally be scared of the Cowboys, but the Niners just kind of own them, right? And again, that's not something to be like, oh, we own the Cowboys, we're gonna beat them. But it's just like we tend to play really well against the Cowboys, and I just don't think they're better than the Niners are. One team that I would look out for is the Rams. People would call me crazy for that. But no, I fully believe, you got to play a team 3 times in a year potentially if we end up going against them in the playoffs. That's never easy. I mean, we saw that happen in 2021 when the Niners played the Rams, beat them twice in the regular season, played the NFC Championship, end up losing. Rams go on to win the Super Bowl. Right? You play a team 3 times, it's not like super easy to beat a team 3 times in the season. And the Rams are starting to heat up. Matthew Stafford's playing really well. Obviously, they got two wide receiver ones essentially with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Defense is playing well. The Rams are looking really good, right? But ultimately, I think the Niners are the best team in the NFC. I don't think it's particularly close, and I'm pretty much expecting the Niners to make the Super Bowl this season. But it's going to come down to who we play in the AFC because I think the Ravens can give us a run for sure. I think the Ravens will actually beat us if they play us. And, you know, they're my pick. That's my pick. It's kind of the lame pick, the 2-1 seeds to make the Super Bowl. But I think that's what's going to happen. I do. I think it'll be a Niners-Ravens Super Bowl matchup this season, a repeat of 2013. And that's going to be a good game. But I do believe it would go to the Ravens. But anything can happen, right? Like at that point in time, things are going to be different. I think the Ravens will be the team to make the Super Bowl. If it's not the Ravens, I mean, it's Kansas City they're just a little shaky. Like you have Patrick Mahomes, which is why it's tough to go against them. It's just, the wide receiver core, if they keep on dropping these balls and like screwing Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be tough for the Chiefs. But if they don't, the Chiefs have a great shot to make the Super Bowl again and beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So, what are the Niners Super Bowl chances? They have Super Bowl chances. It's just I see Niner fans all over the place. I actually commented on the 49ers post after the Redskins or after the Commanders game, and I said, we've seen. Oh, it was because we clinched the 1 seed, and I said we've seen this before. We still probably won't win the Super Bowl, and I had Niner fans coming at me like, you aren't faithful. You're no fan. Get out of here. We don't want you on this fan base. Like, I'm sorry I'm realistic. I'm sorry that I'm objective, and I'm not a delusional Niner fan. I've said it many times. The 49ers have the most delusional fan base in the NFL, and it's not close. They 100% have the most delusional fan base in the league right now. And they were all coming at me like, man, you're no fan. You're no fan. I'm just keeping it realistic, right? I'm not going to be overly optimistic. Why would I do that? Why would I put myself through that anyways? Let's be objective here. Okay, the 49ers have choked in the past, and there's a very possible chance that it happens again. So the Niners, that's my opinion here on how the Niners' chances are for the Super Bowl. Like I said, I think they have the best roster. I don't know if they're the best team in the league. I really think that's Baltimore right now. But I don't think there's really any excuse for Kyle to not do it this season because the Niners have the best overall constructed roster top to bottom in the NFL. And I think this is finally his year. So I hope he'll be able to finally get it done because he clearly hasn't been able to do it in the past.